This year he'll select me for sure. I can feel the gears rotating in my direction. Welcome, friend. Come, join our celebration on this glorious and special day.
Why is today special?
Today is the day that Lector Naril declares a new apprentice. I've improved my botanical knowledge and skills considerably since the selection day last year. I hope he sees how much I can help him in his work.
Apprentice? What is this place?
The Everwound Wellspring, a wondrous oasis in this mechanical desert. Sotha Seal created the place, but the Lector made plants grow in the metallic soil. Once every year, he distributes food and chooses an apprentice. You should come with me and see.
I'll go with you to see the Lector.
In the past, the wellspring was accessible to everyone. Lector Narl sealed the place and started the tradition of the annual harvest and apprentice selection. Oh no, so many hopefuls. The gears just have to align in my favor. They have to.
Faithful of Sotha Seal, you may enter to collect this year's harvest in a moment, but first, I shall name my new apprentice. Sherazar, the Everwound Wellspring welcomes you as its new apprentice. The rest of you, come in and claim your portion of the harvest.
Thank the great gear. Let's go inside.
Factotums will continue to gather the harvest and bring the containers here. In the meantime, use the lift and come see our oasis. I always share a few words of advice with the hopefuls that weren't selected before I take the new apprentice under my wing. The Everwound Wellspring provides excellent opportunities for the novice apostles.
Tell me about Everwound Wellspring.
You must be one of the new arrivals I've heard so much about. Everything in the Clockwork City, the soil, the flora, the fauna, it's all composed of gears and pistons and metal. It's like that everywhere. Everywhere, that is, except here.
Why is the wellspring different?
Because Sotha Seal set the wellspring in this metallic desert and blessed it with a reservoir of water. An exceedingly rare thing in the Clockwork City. He planned to create an oasis, but moved on to other projects before the task was done.
If the oasis wasn't finished, where does the harvest come from?
We had water and a pressing need. It didn't take me long to figure out how to make actual living plants grow in this artificial soil. Now, save your questions and let me show you some of the wonders of the Everwound Wellspring.
All right, let's see your oasis.
Come, everyone! Follow me into the viewing garden. My friends, the wellspring enjoyed a bountiful harvest. Let me show you how we accomplish our miracles. Simulated sunlight allows our trees to produce fruit sweeter than the orchards of Vardenfell. These pipes carry an alchemical solution that nourishes our plants. Factotums harvest the plants and pack them in special containers to keep them fresh before we distribute them to Clockwork City. We take clippings from the most robust plants to produce stronger varieties. Someday, we'll be able to grow plants outside these walls. Every season, we share our bounty and select a new apprentice from among the novice apostles. By the way, where did my new apprentice wander off to? My new apprentice, Sherazar. Where did she disappear to? Oh, she's off to a bad start. A very bad start.
Do you want me to find Cherizar?
And have 2 novices wandering around the Oasis unsupervised? Very well. Go find Sherazar and return to me with all due haste. Quickly now. The work of the Wellspring can't wait for an idle apprentice.
A new apprentice every year? Why do you need so many apprentices?
My program provides an opportunity to work outside the Clockwork Basilica. Lets them try their hand at something different. Besides, keeping the Wellspring going requires a lot of bodies. You'd be surprised at what's required to make my plants grow.
How do you get the plants to grow in metallic soil?
That's a complicated subject, and one better left to the actual apprentices. Suffice it to say that the process involves water treated with our chemical nutrients and other solutions, as well as our simulated sunlight.
How do you simulate sunlight?
That would require an even more complicated answer. Suffice it to say that we use lenses, crystals, and a unique power source to create life-giving light similar to Nern's sun. But without the apprentices, none of this would be possible.
This was supposed to be a special day, but it turned out all wrong. There's something not right with this Oasis.
What makes you think there is something wrong with the Oasis?
Sometimes a gear slips or a cylinder throws a piston. This place reminds me of that. Specifically, I saw my old friend Shirhari down one of the corridors. When I tried to go talk to her, the factotums blocked my path. They drove me off.
Why would the factotums do that?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's the reason I have a bad feeling all of a sudden. Why restrict where an apprentice can go? And why refuse to let me talk to Shirhari? It makes no sense.
Lector Naril sent me to find you. Maybe he can explain things.
No, I'd rather speak to Shirhari. I know her. I trust her. Lector Naril? He's still a stranger to me. Will you help me get past the factotum so I can talk to my old friend?
I help you reach Chirari.
Sherazar! Oh, this one purrs at the sight of you.
It's so good to see you too, Shirhari.
You shouldn't wander the wellspring unsupervised. It's dangerous. The factotums don't respond well to visitors they haven't been formulated to recognize. And the fabricants, they're just mean.
Cherizar is Wellspring's new apprentice.
A new apprentice? Really? But what does Shirhari know of such things? This one works in the dark and grows fungi, molds, and mosses. The lector keeps me too busy for other concerns.
Cherizar thinks there might be some sort of problem here at the Oasis.
Shirhari doubts there's anything sinister going on. So the seal blessed the wellspring with water, and Lector Naril's alchemical solutions make it possible to grow plants. It's good to see Sherazar, though. We could use the help.
What about the apprentice selected last year?
Apprentice? Sherazar is the first new apprentice to enter the wellspring in years. The Lector stopped selecting apprentices after poor Gathal's accident. At least, that's how this one understands things. I suppose Idrono might know differently.
Who is Idrono?
Idrono works with Shihari. He attempts to grow non-fungal plant life in harsh conditions. Since you're going to speak to him, could you bring along some of my mushrooms? But not the poisonous ones. He hates those.
We'll gather some mushrooms and bring them to Idrono.
Idrono will be grateful for the fungi samples, even if he seems agitated. He gets that way during the harvest. Make sure to bring him safe ones, though. My notes can help you identify the various types we grow.
Tell me about Apprentice Gathal.
This one only knows what Lector Naril told her. He said that Gathal injured himself while performing an experiment. He never recovered. It was a tragedy. Idrono pays much more attention to gossip, so perhaps he can tell you more.
If you can hear my voice, step to the nearest speaking tube this instant. This is Lector Naril talking to you through this speaking tube. I assume that you and Sherazar have been exploring the wellspring. We've built something impressive here, don't you think?
Impressive? I suppose, but we were wondering where are the other new apprentices?
Other apprentices? Oh, you mean Sherazar's predecessors, the ones selected during the past few harvests. About them, well,
They've been dealing with a very special experiment. Utterly secret, you understand.
Cherizar and I would like to see them, if that's all right.
Certainly. Just as soon as you report to me. I must complete Sherazar's orientation and training. Some parts of the wellspring can be extremely dangerous. I'll expect you back in the viewing garden before 3 gears click into place.
Goodbye.
A new apprentice? How curious. And are those samples of Shirahari's mushrooms? Excellent. I've been anxious to taste the new harvest. Texture similar to guar hide. Flavor equivalent to wet moss. Not what I hoped for.
Speaking of apprentices, we were curious about the last few that were selected.
Interesting question. As far as I know, no new apprentices have entered the wellspring since Gathal's accident. But I have a bigger concern. At least Shirahari can grow mushrooms. My plants refuse to live no matter what I do.
But the wellspring produced a bountiful harvest. Are you doing something different here?
Of course. Lector Narl tasked each of us with a different experiment. I'm attempting to grow plants without the benefit of the simulated sunlight. I haven't had any success so far, but someone has to tackle the difficult experiments, I suppose.
Simulated sunlight?
Lector Narl developed it using techniques he still refuses to share. The simulated sunlight provides nourishing energy that makes most of the plants we grow thrive. Not my plants, mind you. Oh, no, that would ruin the experiment.
Is there anyone else we can ask about the other apprentices?
Otowen's been with Lector Narl the longest. She might know something more. You'll need to cross my garden to reach her. Just watch out for the blasted fabricants. They keep eating my plants and clogging up the gears.
I'll watch for the fabricant on the way to talk to Otowen.
I just don't understand why my plants won't grow while Shihari and Otowen have no trouble making things bloom. It's an absolute annoyance. And so are those fabricants. Feel free to smash them to bits on your way through the garden.
Tell me about Gathal's accident.
What's to tell? Gathal died. Happened in Lector Narl's private workshop. We're not allowed in there anymore. Now let me think. I need to figure out how to make my plants do something. Anything other than wither and die.
Goodbye.
New apprentice, if you can hear my voice, step to the nearest speaking tube this instant. This is Lector Naril talking to you through this speaking tube. I had such high hopes for you, Sherazar. Why do you defy me?
We're going to talk to Apprentice Otowen.
I see. And does this have to do with the endeavors of the Wellspring? I suppose I can't fault you for your initiative and willingness to get right to work. I just wish you would have waited before you presented yourselves to my other apprentices.
Are we prohibited from talking to the other apprentices?
Prohibited? That's a harsh word. No, we don't have any restrictions in the Wellspring. But Sherazar will have a better understanding of how things work here once she returns to me and completes her orientation and training.
No restrictions? Apprentice Idrono said no one is allowed in your private workshop.
Did he? My workshop isn't restricted, it's just private. You must see the necessity for a space of my own. No matter. Finish your task and we can discuss this in more detail. I have impressive plans for you and my new apprentice.
Goodbye.
Interruptions are counterproductive. The 7th law of Gears teaches us that. Well, since you've already distracted me, you might as well tell me what you want.
Idrono said we should talk to you about...
Idrono? His experiment was doomed from the beginning. You can't grow plants without a source of nourishing light. My plants thrive thanks to the use of Lecter Narrow's simulated sunlight. But I wasn't informed we were getting new apprentices.
Don't you receive new apprentices at this time every year?
That was the practice until Gathal died. Then the Lector sealed his private workshop and gave us these experiments to conduct while he perfected his simulated sunlight. It makes our annual harvest possible. If there were other apprentices, I'd know.
Well, Lecter Nariel selected Cherizar. And Cherizar saw Mariko get selected last season.
I suppose Lecter Naril could have more apprentices toiling in his private workshop. He keeps numerous secrets, so what's a few more? You can enter the workshop through the busted vent over there. Ignorance of his rules might grant you some leeway.
We'll take a look in Lecter Nariel's private workshop.
Lecter Naril's private workshop is restricted, but I don't expect you to find anything. If he catches you snooping around, feign ignorance and beg forgiveness. What's the worst he could do? I suppose he could turn you into plant food.
Tell me more about Lector Nariel.
Lecter Naril is one of the most respected Clockwork apostles currently operating within Lord Set's great experiment. Every novice wants to become his apprentice, and every sentient in the Brass Fortress hopes to partake of his bountiful harvests.
How did he come to lead the efforts here at the Wellspring?
That's a long and complicated tale. The short form is that he was one of Sotha Seal's most trusted warrior scholars. When our great master abandoned the Wellspring for other endeavors, Narrow stepped in to fill the gap. He's been here ever since.
Very disappointed, Cherizar. Stop this foolishness and return to me this instant.
Gnarl's a Clockwork apostle. He must keep meticulous notes. We need to examine them. That's the story of how the Everwound Wellspring was created. Lecter Gnarl picked up where Sotha Seal left off. The early experiments failed, even though Lecter Gnarl perfected his alchemical solution. I wonder how they solved the problem. went into making the wellspring work. I wonder how they finally got the simulated sunlight to nourish the plants. Simulated sunlight is the life force of the missing apprentices? That's horrible. We need to see what's inside Narul's private workshop. That machine! Is that the inductor? The apprentices! It sucked the life out of them! This is the Lector's simulated sunlight inductor. And just as we read in his notes, he's using the life force of the most recent apprentices to power the device. So the Seal would never approve of this. Never in a million clicks of the Great Gear.
It's too late to help the apprentices, but we should get out of here.
No. If we leave, Lector Narul will just use Shirhari or one of the others. We have to do something. We have to stop this madness. People shouldn't be turned into plant food. At least not while they're still healthy and vibrant. It's not natural.
I'll put an end to Lector Nariel.
So now you know the secret of the wellspring. You see your role in our grand plan. Time is short. The life force of the previous apprentices is nearly depleted.
Why do you resist? Your life force can feed thousands! You lash out because you fail to grasp the importance of what I do.
There's nothing to be done for these poor apprentices. The inductor has drained every drop of life from their bodies. But what of Lector Naril? He cloaks his evil in good intentions.
I dealt with Lector Nariel, but what do we do about this machine?
The Lector lied. He tricked the apprentices and killed them. But the machine does allow the plants to grow and provides food for the Clockwork City. I wonder, what if someone willingly sacrificed themselves to feed the people?
The cost to use the inductor is too great. We need to shut it down.
You're right. The sacrifice is too great. Lector Naril turned Sotha Seal's dream into a nightmare. I'll work with the remaining apprentices. Together, we'll find another way for the Everwound Wellspring to help the Clockwork City.
How horrible! Those apostles, all dead?
Not just dead, drained of life to create the simulated sunlight.
Still, it's an amazing device. Lector Naril's a true genius.
A genius? Look at this, Narl's insane!
Narl's dead, and this work is an affront to Lord Set and everything he's taught us.
I won't argue that point, but you can't deny that Naril accomplished what the Clockwork Mage never quite got around to doing.
This one rejects that path. A life is worth more than a harvest. More than 100 harvests.
This isn't our decision to make. We should go before the council.
No, there's no decision to make. I'm shutting this horrid contraption down right now.
But the plants! They'll die without the simulated sunlight.
We're the apprentices of the Everwound Wellspring. We'll figure out a way to save the plants.
You really think so? This one hopes that we are up to such a task.
We're Clockwork Apostles. Of course we can do this. Now, let's get to work.
Journal of a Stranded Mage. You know what I miss the most? My dog. I just hope she's been taken care of. My cousin Brellinal would check on her when I traveled. I should bring this journal to his cousin.
If you're looking for a handout, keep looking. I have a hard enough time keeping this mangy dog fed.
Are you Brellinal? I have news about your cousin.
Let me guess. Orenol sent you to let me know he'll be on his adventure for another few weeks, yeah? Well, you go right on back to him and tell him this. Dogs are expensive. He's going to compensate me for all I've spent feeding this root-ass mutt.
I'm sorry to bring bad news, but Orenol is dead.
He's... what? He's dead? How in Ifra's name did that happen?
You should read his journal. I've brought it with me.
Orenol's dead? I can barely believe it. My cousin always did crave adventure, but he was always so careful. I never thought... No matter. I know why you're here. It's about the dog, isn't it? I always knew he loved her more than he let on.
Would you take care of Jonah?
I suppose I have to. I'll admit, the mutt's more useful than most. She at least keeps the rats at bay. Besides, I don't think anyone else would. Thank you for letting me know. Here's something for your troubles.
Goodbye.
A glistening metal plate lies in the middle of the road. You can just make out the engraving CCHW04. Someone must have dropped it while walking along this road. Another engraving reads, "If lost, please return to the Clockwork Register."
There may be more plaques ahead. Perhaps I'll earn a reward if I return them all.
By the word, I wind the gears. Please state your business or depart.
I found these sequence plaques abandoned on the road.
Reflecting. Reflecting. Information found. Sequence plaques CCHW-04, CCHW-03, CCHW-02, CCHW-01. Last archived 342 cycles ago. Archive is incomplete. These sequence plaques have no copies in the archive. Please return them.
What information do these plaques contain?
Information restricted due to current citizen status. Please contact a local Clockwork Apostle representative for more information.
All right, is there at least a reward for returning them?
The Brass Fortress thanks you for your cooperation in this matter. All citizens are entitled to a reward for this service. Go forth and create, citizen. By the word, I wind the gears. Please state your business or depart.
Goodbye.